definitely has looked up to Broken Blade, has kind of been that inspiration, and has said, look, this is the first time he's ever faced off against them, so he's looking forward to learning from the master himself. Although in the bathroom he did tell me they were going to look into a Shogath, which luckily can't happen, but it would make me a little bit more disappointed, you know?
I love that bathroom insight. Let's see what else gets taken off. Yone so far seems like a good bet for G2 since even Nako has played it so far on the side of Vitality. That Maokai stable jungler still in 25-9 here in the LEC. Kalista still not getting through that much, and this seems like the usual, although taking away the Kai'Sa here seems a little bit ambitious in game one.
The Varus, I assume, is going to be the final ban. So I imagine you go Varus ban, they're looking at an Ezreal pickup for Hans Sama, because that's kind of the answer, I would imagine, a lot of the times for that Kai'Sa. We've also seen Vi start to kind of teeter up in the priority list as well, because you can open up for a lot of the, you know, the Vi Rumbles, these kind of plays. So I'm curious as to what G2 want to try and go for here.
Call out though, that ban taken away, as you said, the range taken off the board a bit. Taliyah has been worth a mention, especially with setup of these comps. We know how many good junglers are pairing with strong mid laners at the moment, Dagda. It does feel like for Caps, I mean, he's played a lot of the Taliyah, he's played a lot of champions this split, but Taliyah sits high amongst most of them.
Yeah, we've kind of seen Czajek go back towards things like these here in this sort of situation. It only really seems to be Caps who's trying to opt in towards the funkier picks like the Hui into the Taliyah to try and outrange in the matchup, but I don't think we'll get it here. And honestly, I could just see the Rumble and then a jungle lock in here as well. Pantheon makes a lot of sense. A very strong, potent early game jungle.
Nice water bottles. Good branding for Vitality. Nako also leaning back on his chair. It's going to be hard to grab that water bottle in the midst of the game, but we'll keep you updated to see how long his arms can reach. The Pantheon you already talked about locked in. Let's see pairings here, because, again, for Lyncas, I love him on these aggressive junglers. The Nefiri, the Pantheon, he's most played, and so far we've not been disappointed with when Lyncas gets a lead. He does take over the game with picks like this as Jayce. That also helps.
Wow, okay, so I agree with the Pantheon pick, because like the last time you think about him playing it was the MCOY series, where he had that game one where he just popped off at 5-0 the first few minutes of the game. So definitely a champion he's looked very comfortable on. The Jayce surprises me. Not that I don't think Nako has it in his wheelhouse. I just thought it would be a bit more like we'll go towards the Rumble, go towards something a bit more basic, because this is kind of just a call out from Nako saying, look, I'm going up against the guy who's been a bit of an inspiration for me, and I want to send him home in a body bag.
Even something like the Gwen, right? Because further to your point, with the AD jungler, we get 8-piece solo lane pairings most of the time. I guess they said Jayce is too strong to leave open. We cannot give it over to the side of Broken Blade. It's banned pretty much all the time in the LEC. I guess with the Ezreal as well, it would have given nice range as G2. Obviously opting into the mid-jungle pairing and now setting up Hans Sama for his historical best champion. I don't know if you want to elaborate on that, Dagda, but that feels like one of his best.
I mean, no, I agree. I think Hans Sama, to be honest, has been kind of the most consistent performer for G2, and I think he's actually playing fantastic.
Time of trouble.
All split long. And the Ezreal has been a very strong pick for him, which in the past it hasn't been as much, but he has really come into his own and had standout performances on this pick. So I'd be a little nervous if I'm G2. Vitality on the opposite side, though, getting comfort for Nisqy. Nisqy has kind of fallen back towards things like the Alistar, the Rakan, the Rel. So definitely Alistar is most played and something that he'll look to try and be comfortable on in that bottom side against Hans Sama and Labrov.
Happy birthday to you.
Yo, Rodrigo, happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
The crowd singing. Yeah, you know what? Screw draft. Can we pause draft? Do we have a cake?
Someone get the candles.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Turning young old age of 30 today. I don't know, really. I'm just guessing. Happy birthday. I don't know.
Sending him down the 30-year-old river.
Maybe younger, I'm sorry. I just figured I'm like, you know, a lot of the time, like, coaches, people behind the scenes of the teams, usually they're older than 30, Dagda, so I thought I'd play it safe, you know. Maybe not. Anyway, happy birthday. Set up a band. Look, we get rid of some basic ones. Victor, take it off the table. Poppy as well.
Yeah, I think Azir is probably going to be next to follow. It's anything that essentially gives range in that mid lane matchup is what you want to remove as Taliyah. And you've already got that set up with the Vi as well. So it's a very strong mid-jungle pairing and try and deny some of that long range and safety in the mid lane as an answer. I still am curious, though, exactly what's happening with this Jayce, because I think they are going to hold it till R5 to kind of solidify where this pick is going to go. But you could always send it towards Czajek in the mid lane. And traditionally what we've seen is when you get the Vi combo, you tend to want to use something like the Rumble alongside it, and you could always then shift that Jayce into the mid lane, send a Gwen. Oh, actually, there we go. I was going to say send the Gwen into the top lane, but they're thinking the same thing, where Gwen got nerfed in AD matchups, not so much in the AP matchups.
Yep.
So she can work into picks like the Rumble, but G2, good read on that situation.
Still such a hell of a mid-game spike, and now that that's off the table, we get to answer that question one step at a time. They leave the flex up, they lock in the Xayah, and Xayah against Vi was always such a good response because you have the button to stop, the Vi button, therefore nullifying everything. Vitality, their options are good, but how does G2 opt to run into this? Broken Blade's picks are always fun to watch. What has he got for the Jayce top, or potential Jayce top, as we said? Nullify.
Yeah, and that's going to be the call. Just take the Sion, nullify the matchup, and just say, look, I will be so much more useful as long as I can deny Jayce from really snowballing in this matchup. Leona going to be the parent alongside as well, which I do like. Less for the lane. Unfortunately, Alistar kind of answers a lot of Leonas and the Rels that you would want to go for in this competition at G2, but just really good follow-up for that Vi engage to provide that long-range CC to complement it. So overall, G2, very much a strong front-to-back team fighting style with dive options in the Vi and the Leona. And whereas when you look across at Vitality, okay!
Always a treat, isn't it? We got Sion from Broken Blade, but on the other side, there's a Vladimir. Now, Dagda, we still have to wait to see which lane it goes in, but most likely top right, like Vladimir mid, has been less common than the Jayce mid.
Yeah, I think it will be the top Vladimir. And I like the transition, right? We just said Sion, we've looked at like LPL and LCK. They would just take the Sion and go, cool, I'm going to just scale.
Yep.
You will probably get some turret plates. You probably come in with a gold lead. I'm just going to be more useful in team fights. But with the Vladimir now, you match that kind of passive scaling in the Sion. You can also take some plates, and suddenly this Vladimir becomes a monster in the later portions of the game. Still though, I think you've got good, at least push for Vitality in both top and boss, or sorry, top and mid, I should say, that you can look to try and play off of Lyncas. But the team fight's going to be a bit more interesting because while you do have a lot of damage, you do have to try and get past this beefy front line as Vitality to really hit the back line properly.
You're very right. I mean, that Sion, the Leona, great initiating tanks as well. So for G2, how simple is the comp where you just say, we run into mid, and they just know, sorry, I'm just getting distracted by the right side. And how easy is it to accelerate from there? And ladies and gentlemen, it's a new rift, it's a new day, it's new expectations that need to be met. Because G2 on the edge, alongside Vitality, is not where you expected them to be. GB the other day, even yesterday, said he doesn't think they're going to make playoffs. G2, their schedule, it might not be easy, but god damn, that's a big call when G2 are really the face of League of Legends in Europe.
I mean, they haven't finished outside of the top 4 since joining the league.
Yep.
And now, there is a risk of them not making playoffs. Now, it's still there, but a win here will be massive for G2, guaranteeing them a tiebreaker situation. Same goes for Vitality in the if mishaps occur, but we'll have to see if G2 can find that success. And it hasn't been the most successful time for them as of late.
Has not indeed. A lot of people are going to be asking the question of, like, what really happened to G2? And I think you can come back and you can say, it really felt like it happened over Madrid, right? Only something to take away from one weekend, but like, oh my God, they're GD at 8, they're 14. Yo, their stats aren't that bad. But it all crumbled in that mid-game, which is what G2 spent all year last year working on.
And I think a lot of it was kind of focusing around Caps in the mid lane, whereas, hey, can we push him behind, which we saw in a couple of games, but even when he was able to get those leads on the Orianna, he wasn't able to quite find the success. The cohesion on G2 wasn't really there for them. So I think that's where in a composition like this, it fills me with a little bit more, how will I say, confidence that they can try and play through that.
Yeah.
Just because it's very easy to execute. You have point and click from SkewMond, follow up from Caps, follow up from Labrov, Broken Blade being a nuisance as a front line. It's very easy to execute on this composition, and we'll have to see if they're going to be able to find their way through it, because Vitality have a composition that if it starts to get ahead, really will just take over in a lot of these situations.
Vitality, I mean, look, they're not the cleanest team, but if you give them an inch, they'll at least claw their hands across the road to get to that end of the mile, right? It has been so much fun watching this team adapt this split, and Vitality fans are rejoicing because of how explosive they've been, especially around the Herald fights. Nisqy walking up to take a trade. He's going to pulverize down. He's ignited as well, trying to run for his life. He ends up having to flash. Double summoners down for Nisqy. Labrov with an ignite off the table.
Yeah, so nicely done by G2. Again, kind of punishing Nisqy in this bottom side. It has kind of been the detriment of Vitality. Although Carzzy hits the level 2, get a good trade back onto Hansama, but Nisqy definitely struggling in their last series. Now again, having to burn that flash early. So we'll have to see if he can have a little bit of a nicer time.
You know I'm laughing, don't you? Because again, Nisqy in that Nako game where he just, you know, he got caught out so much in the early game, entered quite a lot, caught out in mid-game, and then finds one big ulti and wins them the game.
But that kind of happens with Nisqy a lot, where it's like not only the Nako game, but if you look at like their Dragon setup in those, he had some great like Hex Flash Alistar engages to find those setups. Like, and again, like Czajek in that first game with the Taliyah and that Alistar really working well together. So we'll have to see what they will be capable of doing. But yeah, I think the only like if Vitality start to get ahead here, I should say that. It's kind of difficult for G2 because you're not a very high damage composition. Like, Ezreal sure does a lot of damage, but like Caps kind of does. And if you're like Nako and you start to get a lead, it's going to be very difficult to shut this Vladimir down. So I am curious how G2 want to try and interact on the map, because at the moment SkewMond's moving bot side, but I imagine you want to try and put some pressure onto Nako so he doesn't just, as you can see here, get a little bit of time to just really stack up and have a great old time against this side.
SkewMond, ward's going to be seen. Good side step from Czajek as SkewMond also rears his head in, Caps just teleported to a ward. But you know, you mentioning top, the greatest thing is, I think you're also talking about it in draft, like, he needs attention because Nako into the Sion, a free scaling lane. Bot won't be the same deal. Pulverize sends Labrov sky high. Gets a bit of healing and rather W's up. The pots are burnt, Hansama pokes them out, and the threat of a dive is there. The SkewMond also walked over a ward. Spotted near try.
Yeah, I think it's just trying to allow G2 to push in safely, because at the moment, like, in the support matchup, you have a ton of pressure here as Labrov. Because you've got that W, you get a ton of resistances, you don't really match it as Nisqy, even with the Aftershock, so you're always playing on the back foot. The only time you can't really engage is if you are too close to Nisqy's tower and he can find some way to punch you back underneath the turret, but as long as you avoid that, like, G2 should be fine to just keep pushing in these waves.
Notice who mid, Caps just gets a good chunk out on Czajek, but he does have teleport. That's the advantage. Caps comes back to lane with a tier, so naturally he's going to have the access to a greater health bar. Teleport going to be burned from Czajek. He's coming back in now with a pickaxe as well. So a bit of burst being added into this mid laner. Kind of expect.
Yeah, and I like it. I mean, this is kind of where Caps has to continuously burn mana to push in, whereas Czajek has a little bit of an easier job with this pickaxe now, just auto-attacking down the wave. So he'll be fine as this goes on, as Broken Blade and Nako. This is going to be the longest wet noodle fight you've ever seen.
I know. Nako will take some damage. He'll get it all back. If Broken Blade wants a CS, he can play with that transfusion part 2, get an enhanced heal, and Nako will be completely fine. Fiendish Codex for this Vladimir. And look, oh my god, nice damage. But it doesn't matter.
Because he's going to pop this third Q in a second.
Wait.
Heal.
Oh.
To be fair, though, Broken Blade has been able to consistently push in this wave and get some the Demolish procs down. So he got it in that top side. I don't think he actually got a plate for himself, but you'll see just as you peek at the top turret that there is a bit of that health bar gone. Thank you, observers. But also it's kind of been seen on the bottom side. So as Broken Blade is able to get to these waves with the Soul Furnace, that W shield, he's just able to ignore the damage. And Nako won't really have access to enough damage to break that shield until he hits level 9. So BB just making the most of the matchup.
As he can. Level 6 now hit as well for both of them too. Their teleports will burn, so if there's any action that comes from Grubs in 2 minutes with the new spawn, it'll have to be them traversing up top with their legs. But Dragon's still up, Lyncas is hovering around, SkewMond the same. Mid lane seems to be the focus here, both just wasting time and seeing if there's going to be any action, but for now, they just hold off. No camps up and available either, so nothing better to do with their time. And SkewMond goes to start the Dragon, while Broken Blade is just ulti top.
Yeah, I mean, just rotating quick around the map, not a bad shout. You get Hansama and Labrov back to that bottom side. Broken Blade will be completely fine here. You can see he's stunned for days. Can't really get through the health bar, and he just picks up the wave, right? So, and I like when you have a Sion like this being able to rotate around the map so effectively with the ultimate, because a lot of people kind of expect it to be used as an engage tool, but in the early stages, you might as well pop it to just get to a lane faster, because there's no one who can really do anything.
Even if he dies, still gets a CS. I mean, he's just picked up double Ruby Crystals, probably helped with it. Lyncas says, let's dive this. And Broken Blade with only a flash up. He's going to try and Decimating Smash. Lyncas looking for the W in hands and has the damage. Broken Blade flashes away, still being tanked up now by Lyncas. He'll have to get out though, and does so successfully. Wave going to be received by dead Broken Blade, but it's a first blood over. Over to Vitality in the end. Yeah, Nisqy died, by the way, on that dive.
He didn't have level 6, so it's where you're way more vulnerable as Nisqy in that. Also, I think the fact he just CC'd meant he didn't have the aftershock, so way less tanky than you'd expected. SkewMond trying to make the similar play on the bottom side of the map, but you always have cool as Nako, which makes this play way more difficult to go for.
Doesn't have the ulti, though, but you're not going to risk it in the end. Tides of Blood to clear the wave, and getting a kill in that situation is Broken Blade. I'd be chilling. 1 for 1 in the end, and especially since you get the wave off the turret, gold's pretty even. As a Sion, you expect to die a couple of times, don't you?
Just part of it all, you know.
It really is. It's experience.
Yeah, you see it as you go in. So I'm pretty sure Nisqy doesn't have aftershock because he just used this in the trade beforehand. I want to just double check as he goes in, but yeah, it doesn't have it. So he's just not tanky at all. And you can see how quickly that terror damage ramps up. So Broken Blade able to pick one off. Lyncas takes a beating on the way out as well. And as he said, being able to pick up a ton of that CS underneath the tower means he's just in a good spot.
Well, early game off to a flying start. Grubs are up now. It's 8 minutes. There's only one pair of them. One trio of them, I should say. And G2 are on them. They already got first dragon as well. 1 taken. 2 only needed for the feats. 3 for the mites. So Vitality are able to pick up 1. They're going to be denied at least the feats of warfare or feats of grubs, whatever feat they fall into. Grubs don't even have feet. Like, how can grubs be part of the feet? They don't have feet.
They have little stumpy ones.
Yes.
Like little toothpicks.
The mites don't have feet, though. The mites are just blobs.
The mites are trying their best, okay?
Yeah, sorry for bagging out the mites. Dagda, I talk about feet all the time. I don't mean to, but League of Legends, since it came in, they want us to talk about it. Well, nothing's up for now. I mean, you get one part of the objective, that's about it, but G2, I think they're definitely feeling good. They get all 3 grubs. They deny it from someone like a Jayce. You know, feels pretty nice with what he can do in side lanes, and I'd say right now the early game for G2 is chilling when you talk about the front line, when you talk about the fact that, like, they will need to get a move on with some of the damage profiles in this comp.
Yeah, I think as long as you're not losing out on like a ton of turret plates and stuff, you're in a relatively fine spot. And at the moment, SkewMond has been doing a good job of tracking where Lyncas is and just trying to match his positions on the map. Lyncas now having access to level 6 though makes that 10 times harder, because now you can just ult to a lane at any point in time. So you can see they're kind of being a bit more cautious about how far they push up in the waves. And Vitality are trying to opt into this 1-3-1, so that then they can have both side lanes to try and play around with Lyncas.
Lyncas ult check still there, not used yet. Kind of like the Nocturne feeling, right?
Oh yeah.
When you wait for that Pantheon ult, you're like, you need your first 2 good ones to be very inviting to the game of League of Legends. By the way, we're not doing much at the moment. Let's have a quick chat. I think this team is popping off at the moment. A lot of people will agree with how they've played games, with how rigorous they've been in a lot of these fights. This series means so much because, again, guys, it guarantees a tiebreaker for that 6th place, which is so huge when 4 teams get knocked out of playoffs. And they're away until after MSI. If you sit on the bench for that long, like, you get rusty. You know, you don't want to do that. And your chance of getting to MSI as well off the table.
I think it's also because a lot of people are kind of waiting for things to click for this team, like Nisqy obviously coming in, but also, you know, they weren't exactly having the best of times, losing 2-0 to Rogue and that, but then beating Movistar Koi in 2-0 faction, being able to beat BDS last week as well, in games that were tough for them to come into. Like, I think it's finally feels like Vitality are starting to crest that, but we'll have to see if they can.
They have to in this fight at least. Soulflare comes through. Lyncas is blown apart. Doesn't even get to play the team fight. Nisqy with the unbreakable will. The ulti negated by Carzzy. A great version of him popping into the feathers, but a decimating smash sets up to put him sky high. Caps doesn't get anything with the ulti himself, or rather the shove. Nisqy's just flashed away. Everything from Vitality lost. Broken Blade looks caught out here, but he won't die. Vitality caught again to the sides.
Yeah, Vitality is still pushing in the side. So, like, it is a nice pick here by G2, using the fact that you've got more members there, also burning the TP from Broken Blade. But the fact you only get 1, I don't know how valuable it is. If it was like you get the pick and now you get the Dragon, fantastic. But Dragon still about 20 seconds off, so you're not going to be able to pick that up. And you do burn some crucial summoner spells, but Nako got to get some control over the top side, push in, didn't quite get the places.
Oh, Hemo Blade comes through. Broken Blade, the Hollow Radiance is doing work, and now Caps is going to do the same too. He's traversed up to the top lane to be a nuisance. The Nako seismic shove, just out of time at the Sanguine pull. He gets away.
This is what G2 have to do, though. Make this counterpunch on the opposite side, because Dragon is going down for Vitality.
Big. And again, I mean, that Dragon, sort of its shove, flash, Nako's alive, but for how much longer? The Avengers are here. Dun, 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 dun. There's 4 of them. And Hawkeye's not really even a superhero like G2. Smack him down. They're going to get plating, as you said, for the Dragon. Now it's starting to be more worth.
Yeah, they needed to start making these plays, and it's a good call from G2. They knew they couldn't really contest on towards Dragon with the teleport advantage that Vitality had, although not on Nako, we'll say, but still, nice plays from G2. Tower won't quite go down, but they're still getting a lot of gold on towards Caps.
That's big. I mean, Caps this game so far.
Take 2.
Set up performance, you're right. Maybe go again, but Czajek has got Nisqy to cover, but the turret is almost dead. They're going to have to abandon ship. Vitality let it go. First turret at 12 minutes, 50 seconds. Very early into the game. G2 with the feats of warfare, or I mean the feats all round. Picked up from it too.
And it's nice plays from G2, using the fact Hansama was able to control that mid wave, open up Labrov to move topside and constantly go for these plays. And fortunately, Nako just not respecting that G2 could go for the play, thinking he'd be safer as the Vladimir underneath the tower. And now, Broken Blade, honestly, he's just using this to zone Nako, and he's just going to walk up with Demolish and take the plate. Like, you can see here, it does some damage, and now Broken Blade is fine.
Absolute tickle with a Riftmaker. Nako still, he's just trying to scale. I mean, Broken Blade has a 700 gold lead as a tank. That feels nice, and we've complimented G2 after that last play, Vitality. Again, it felt like after the pick, weren't punished that much until G2 just said, yo, commit, commit, commit. We get top. Now with an almost 2k gold lead, they've got Grubs, or rather Herald, I'm just saying second Grubs, in a minute 15. So we look top yet again as Vitality start reaching their first items alongside G2.
Just trying to see what they can achieve here, but Vitality in a good spot to just cover. They've even moved Carzzy down. You are getting some alone time as Czajek, because you can see in your bottom left corner with the topside turret, which they're going to be relatively happy with. And as long as that bot side tower doesn't fall as well, I think Vitality are in an okay spot here.
But where's Lyncas' ulti? So far, haven't seen too much here. The Pantheon first ulti hasn't come through. I guess, again, where's the opportunity to do so? Dagda's been a slow early game. I'm not about that, but I know it'll speed up. I know mid-game will speed up drastically, right? Because we have a 2-0 bye. SkewMond's in a fantastic position, and as per usual, I always have an individual lead. The thing about SkewMond is, like, resources all belong to him. He's so good at farming. And I feel like there's never really been a game where I'm like, oh my god, SkewMond's mega behind in the individual matchup in jungle. That just rarely happens.
Yeah, I think it's like, I think this game has kind of been a case of follow Lyncas around the map and make sure he can't really do the thing he wants. And G2 obviously setting up off that dragon play to make that turn on towards the topside turret and find the kill into Nako. But it is also difficult when you do struggle into the Pantheon. Like, because you go one way only as SkewMond, right. If you run into Lyncas in the early stages, it can feel a little rough. So kind of has to play a bit safer on the play.
We don't need to talk about safety because Herald's up, SkewMond begins. Vitality are quick-witted. I think this will be in for a laugh if they can get in 7.5k. But Lyncas doing his camps instead. Has just used it as empowered Q, so no, they give up Herald. That is the third objective for G2, outside of the turret even. And again, the early game, Vitality are giving up a lot here.
Well, I think it's Nako not getting the push in topside. Definitely hurt. And then Czajek hasn't really been able to set up to push well against Caps because G2 have started to send constantly Labrov to cover Caps in that side lane. Yeah. So then you're not able to get pushed there. So it's kind of limited the tools that Vitality really have to play around. Because even if you try and go for the dive on towards Broken Blade, you just don't kill him. Like, we've seen the damage that Nako can do. Lyncas is going to maybe take a quarter of his health bar as well, and then Broken Blade will be fine, right? So where you can make plays is kind of a bit limited here as Vitality. And I think G2 have done a good job of punishing that, especially Broken Blade. Like, he's getting so much value from this Sion and just ignoring damage and walking a turn.
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of strangling each solo lane he goes up against. Nisqy spotted on a ward too, and Broken Blade just walks it back. Labrov covering now too. You can see Caps has just teleported. There is going to be some brawls down in bot, and it's 50 seconds till Dragon, though.
But it doesn't matter what you choose here as Vitality, you lose. You can see Vitality are rushing back to mid lane because they think that's probably where the plays happen because there's a Rift Herald in the pocket of SkewMond. So you either cover mid, or you lose and lose bot, or you cover bot and lose mid. Like, there is no winning here as Nisqy eyeing up on Sama, but with Flash Arcane Shift, I don't think you're going to get anywhere.
Might be able to defend top as well. Broken Blade with his ulti available. Just a question of whether he wants it for the third Dragon in this game. I don't know, you've all been chilling, you've all been eating, but get the food out of your mouth. We're about to fight for third dragon, surely.
And at least eat with your food.
Yeah, please. I can hear it. Someone here today is like, hang on, I'm sorry. No, I'm kidding. It's all right. It's okay. You keep eating. We'll focus on the dragon for you. You can sit there, you can lull about, you know, drink your beer or whatever beverage is going for you at the moment. Saw a couple people. I saw someone in the crowd with an IKEA hat, and maybe Carzzy needs to get one because he needs protection. He has to ulti cleanses as well. The IKEA bucket hat would come in clutch there if only Carzzy knew. Because now mid is just open for G2.
Oh, he's got to be...
Oh, good sidestep from Carzzy. He survives, but this might be a double turret. Herald will smash this wide open.
Yeah, but it is a bit of a self-made problem by Carzzy there, because he ends up walking into range of Caps' seismic shove, and now G2 walking in range of Lyncas, but can't really get in. Nisqy.
Oh, pops the ulti though as Lyncas goes in. Vitality are not all here together. Nisqy will engage, but he will surely die. The unbreakable will break nothing against G2. SkewMond with a double. The Innoc's going to go down, and G2 are, yes, one down, but making a mockery of Vitality in this game one.
Yeah, Vitality starting to feel the pinch and the desperation starting to come out of them as well, but at least one back for Czajek. Broken Blade going to take some damage from Nako, but I don't really think anyone's going to come up here to try and help out. I was looking at where Czajek was going.
He got the roses on the way out. I mean, I don't think he's stressing.
I think he's all right, but yeah, Dragon will be taken by G2. But I was keeping my eyes on, like, as you can see on the minimap, like, what Czajek and what Carzzy were up to, but they didn't actually try to move up towards that top side. I thought that would have been the attempt at a trade, especially with Lyncas has the level 6, but Broken Blade, without that extra help, just clears out the wave. You don't get the tower. And you could even see that Labrov was starting to move topside to try and cover the play, but here, like, you're 3v4, so this was always going to be a bit of a Hail Mary.
Yeah.
And I'm really surprised they went for it. Like, Nisqy put himself in an awkward position where he was always going to get zoned off in putting himself in there. And then Lyncas tries to cover, thinking that Nisqy was about to get shoved back in towards G2. Means that he just becomes the focus. And then Nisqy's next to follow, so a bit of baffling plays by the Vitality side.
Remember, again, this was our match of the week because of how Vitality's risen to the occasion in the LEC. Right now, they're one of the most hyped teams because they're this underdog story that has had low expectations, that after the Hylissang introduction, or I shouldn't say introduction, is Carzzy. We're going to pause on that one, might be caught out. Shoved back. He doesn't get to ulti. And Nisqy is just going to die where he stands. This Vi is not hungry because he's overeating. 6-0. Every kill but one over to him. It is the SkewMond carry show.
Carzzy getting caught out for a second time there.
And Lyncas, he's face checking. You have no business being here. Where is the Vitality we were hyped for? Because G2 are putting them somewhere in their place.
Yeah, I don't know what you lads are up to, but it's not looking pretty. Just getting caught out over and over, trying to find something back on plays that have already gone out of control, and then Nako in a similar position.
We won't be able to 1v3. I mean, this fight will blast him. Caps finally gets a kill, or rather he got one before. It's a second. But G2 5-0, making this look like a stomp in game one. It might only be 5K, but the feeling that I get definitely tells a stronger story.
Well, the thing is, it's like the key, gold is on the key people. And like here, Carzzy, like, you're pushed up way too far. You have zero control over the top side. There is no world you should be up here and can't even get the ultimate off in time. And then Nisqy goes down as a result as well. But yeah, you see G2 walking into your bot side jungle. I don't know why Lyncas thinks that it's safe to go in here, because it's most certainly not. Like, 4 members immediately jump on him.
It's fine, there's just Genji Prime, like.
You call them Genji Prime. Yeah, okay.
But yeah, so for G2, I mean, look, we can hit on Vitality for the mistakes that they're making, but G2 are playing this exception.
They're clean. Cap steps up though. Dagda goes golden, maybe still clean enough. There's help from Lyncas, but Cap flashes towards SkewMond. Nisqy can't get away from him. Instead, gets shoved backwards. Long-range damage from Han Summer, who's not even nearby. He starts walking up as Czajek is getting kited away, flashes away. Caps will live to stay on the day. Artican now thought about as G2 have a numbers advantage, and you can see that Vitality want to poke out, they want to prod, they want to fight, but they're not going to get the chance. Nako goes into the pool, but now there's a wall in the way. He flashes over, but the disengage is not enough. Brought back in. G2 are going to continue adding the spice.
They tried so hard to get Caps, but it meant nothing. They were left empty-handed, whereas G2 they're walking away with a massive bouquet of flowers.
Well, Madrid looked crap, but I tell you what, back in Berlin, it's their home, isn't it? What a performance so far. Let's watch again as Caps navigates this.
Yeah, going golden, buying so much time, the flash away. Nisqy tries to go forward, but the camaraderie is here. Everyone on G2 is covering for Caps. Even here, sidestep. As you get that pop on the Seraph shield as well, it's just perfect. And Czajek actually forced the flash away. And once more, like Nako trying his damnedest to do something, but we talked about how beefy this front line from G2 is going to be. And Nako just can't get through it. Yeah. Flick back as well, perfectly executed, and G2 picking up more.
And look, the jungle difference has been huge. Lyncas feels like he's had probably one of his, worst off games of the split, but like, SkewMond is always there. He's such a nuisance. The power of Vi continues in this meta. There's a target there without their disengage.
But I think we kind of said it, like for Lyncas, it's very hard to make something happen this game. Like when you look at the early game, hey, we have to try and play off mid, but you've got Labrov who's constantly roaming mid because our bot lane is already behind after Nisqy having to burn flash. And then you've also got SkewMond covering as well. It just became so difficult to make a play, even if you go bot.
Yeah.
And Sama is so difficult to lock down. So like, how do you make anything happen?
You're right. Again, there's so much mobility, there's so much disengage. I feel like for G2, this comp Dagda, we talked a lot about how their conditions need to rely on maybe finding a lead, escalating quickly. Because Vitality, there's a lot of scaling on that comp. There's frontline, there's good disengage, maybe some kind of front to back and pause quickly, but Broken Blade will not. He wants the Raptors, he'll stand there and contest, but Lyncas ends up getting it while they're playing topside, but bot is where the Dragon is. I guess Vitality know there is no way they're getting anywhere near this.
See, the problem is there's 4 members of G2 that were on the bottom side of the map, but Broken Blade exists on the top side of the map, who in and of himself is 4 members of G2.
Yes.
So the match just doesn't quite work out for Vitality at this stage.
It's been a while since I've seen such a good quality fridge. I mean, we don't get to talk about it much, but
yeah,
like
the Eunice. Yeah.
But my fridge right now, it's leaking a bit. There's an ice on the back for some reason of it. I thought it was too cold. I turned it down, but it's dripping water. I got to clean it all the time. What a pain in the ass. But this ain't that. This is like that shiny stainless steel double door ice cooling.
This is the one you touch and it just comes up with the temperature.
Oh,
and
yeah.
And lets you know when you need to shop.
It's got a TV. People have TVs in their fridge.
That feels unnecessary.
You can watch Twitch. But then what's the point? Because if you open the fridge, you can't see. So you got to look to the side. You're like, but how do I get my milk and watch the LEC at the same time? Good questions to ask as Labrov. He takes this engage, but Caps' wall again does well. In a choke, you'd say it's great, but look at the knock-up galore! I feel like I'm at my 6th birthday party again. Bounce, Vitality, bounce! It's so much fun, but they're crying! They just want to get out of this wild engagement as Czajek getting an ulti knocked around as well. It's bullying, but there's no parents to help them.
The clouds are running wild at the birthday party, but G2, I mean, this was just perfect. Like, the fact that you were just setting up for that pick in the choke, like, Vitality were never in a position to really contest this. Like, they're looking for a pick, but again, Broken Blade is massive. And they even try to go on Labrov, but honestly, Leona incredibly tanky at this stage. She's not going to happen, boss.
Lyncas, I appreciate it. I respect it. The shield's up, but he's dead. I mean, he has to flip the game. It's a 10k gold disadvantage, and the Vitality jungler, there's a will, there's a way, they always say.
I mean, it's just desperation. Like, try anything you can, hope for the best. But unfortunately, this game is completely slipped away from Vitality. A 12k gold lead for G2. But, yeah. G2 are playing this fantastically.
They are.
Like, again, like, Broken Blade understanding so well this matchup, consistently getting turret plates, the movement that we've seen from SkewMond and Caps around the map to facilitate so many of these plays. And again, from Labrov as well, like, he has been on roam duty this whole game, setting up so many of these plays. And I think this is what people expected from G2. And it's kind of been a bit sad that we haven't got to see it from G2, but today, they really do feel alive.
It's nice to see. I mean, look, a lot of people are getting excited because they're like, oh, we don't know where G2's at, and that makes the league more exciting. It's more competitive. But they remind you that you still have to step up to the plate. Don't get lazy. Don't get complacent, whatever the word is, Dagda. You know you just can't settle back. G2 in its only game 1, but it is an exceptional game at that. Vitality on their last legs at 26 minutes into the game. It feels like we might be looking towards a quick night if this continues as Vitality. We won't be able to stop any of the backs here either. Nothing up for a while, but double inhibitor down. And 12,000 gold lead for G2.
Yeah, you don't come online quick enough for Vitality. Nako, level 14 versus the level 16 of Broken Blade.
True.
The 3 items versus the 2. They just haven't had a chance to set up for fights where they are actually separated. SkewMond separated now.
Yeah, but can you kill? I mean, he's got a Hysterics gauge. So by the time he eventually goes down, G2 will be there with all the mobility that comes from caps. Always a moment's notice, he'll be there. Hunsummer jumps in and look, Carzzy's caught out. That's one mystic shot. Combination, the feathers are great, but he's dead. 8 kills for this Vi jungle, and 1 more down for Vitality. Yep, that's a way into the base.
Hey, that's the 80 carry god again. So Vitality down a man, and you've still got Czajek pushed in the bot line. So G2 gonna just destroy this turret.
G2's death may have been grossly exaggerated.
Just a smidge, maybe.
You know, GB not only didn't get $100 yesterday, he's also now sweating a bit. I see you, GB. You're telling me that G2 won't make playoffs. I don't know about that. This game is giving me a lot of hope. Broken Blade just runs into 2 turrets, and look at the engage. Who's going to die from G2, if anyone? I think you know the answer already. Nako can't even transfuse his own blood into a saving grace. G2, that was utter domination.
That was incredibly clean.